right, Scavengers, welcome to episode 26 of the Six Scale Scavenger podcast. My name is Bryan Fontaine. I am joined, as always, with my good friends, TC and Chris Letty. Guys, we've been off. I was on a vacation. We haven't really recorded a podcast in about 3 weeks. Just a wee bit of news that we've got to talk about with San Diego Comic-Con. We've got animation, Comic Games, Hong Kong coming up in a couple days from our recording. Lots of new stuff to talk about. No shortage of new figures and stuff to look at. So guys, let's just get going here.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Let's tell us about your little vacation you had down in Florida.
Yeah. So the family, we went down to Walt Disney World and we had a blast. We went for about 11 days or so, which is real. As I was talking to TC a couple days ago, it's kind of long for a Disney trip. We had a couple days in each of the parks, but hadn't really taken more than a few days off since probably the holidays. And it was really just good to get away from the day job, not think about work at all, just have fun riding amusement rides. And I mean, Disney does it awesome. So very cool. I tried to soak up any of the Marvel or Star Wars experiences I could. I know some in our private Facebook group had the opportunity to see some of the videos and stuff. I did like one of the tours of one of the Star Wars stores down there, got pictures of Star Tours, caught some of the characters walking around and just try to give people a little bit of the flavor of what it looks like before Galaxy's Edge opens. I got a couple different photos in front of the doorway of where people will be able to go through. Kind of disappointing I couldn't go in, but the parks were also not as busy, as a result. And guys, one of the coolest things, and both the people that I was able to meet are probably too humble to say this, but I had the opportunity to meet two of our Facebook group members, two of our listeners, and have been in our group for quite a while. And I mean, I think of myself as just a regular old guy. I mean, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. We're collectors. We just love talking about this stuff. But the fact that it has always humbled me, guys, to have listeners that tune in, that watch our content on YouTube or download the podcast and interact with other like-minded collectors and stuff. I had the opportunity to meet up with Lotus, and I had the opportunity to meet up with Robert. And on separate different days, both of the guys saw that I was in the area. They both lived locally, and had the opportunity to walk around Disney Springs with Lotus. And obviously, Lotus is not his real alias, but I will protect the innocent. He gave me half of his Clark Kent identity, but I will keep that a secret. I told him I would go ahead and do that, but man, we just kept talking, collecting for like an hour or so. My wife was like, "You're hopefully not going to disappear for the whole day here," but I could have kept talking to Lotus for like a couple more hours and just talking about his collecting background. And I've come to find out he's got his own podcast. And, we were talking tips, and he does editing for his podcast. And that was just a really cool conversation. Then I had the opportunity to meet up with Robert, and he happens to actually, work for the Mouse. The Mouse is his boss. And he had reached out to me probably a couple month or two ago and said, "Hey, I've got this Shore Trooper figurine, and, I'm not sure if you have it or not, but if you don't, let me know." And I was like, the set of like 8 or 9 figurines, guys, that they sell in like the Disney store, and they're from like the different movies. Well, I didn't have the figure from Rogue One. I was like, "Oh man, I let me know whatever you want for it, and I'll pay for it." He's like, No. He's like, I want to give it to you. So I had the opportunity to meet up with him. He happened to have a company shirt on that happened to mention a rather large project that half of our listeners would be very interested to find out what's going on down there. But it was so fun. Both guys were just super nice. I talked to Robert for about an hour or so. Probably could have talked to him even longer. He wanted to take a selfie, and he put it on the Facebook group. And I don't know, guys, it was funny because like I had such a blast on the trip, but it was it was so cool to just meet both of them and, give them a shout out here on the podcast. And it's Chris, it's, and TC, I know you're new to the trio here, but Chris, I mean, that's really what we set out to do about a year ago, was just give people the opportunity to talk about this stuff, be a resource. And it was just so cool. I know I've said that multiple different times here. It's not super good radio right now, but if everybody can tell, I'm pretty humbled by the experience.
No, it's absolutely a great chance to meet up with our listeners and fellow members in our group. And it's just, it makes this whole collecting thing, I've said it before, it just brings it to another level when you can meet people in person and share this connection that we have with each other. And it feels great. And I love it. I love that you had a chance to meet up with those guys. Hopefully there's more meetups like this in the future. We encourage our, members of our group to maybe connect with others and that live locally to them and stuff like that. And it's funny because you told me that Robert had an idea for a new T-shirt for the TeePublic page, and apparently I say a certain something about figures when I'm really
liking it. Yeah. Robert he goes, I don't know if you guys realize it, but Chris says all the time, man, he's like, he's talking about a figure, he says the same phrase all the time, and I'm like, Robert, to be honest with you, I can't even think what it is. He goes, he always says, I'm digging this figure. And I was like, you're right, he probably says that more than amazing. So we're gonna work with
absolutely
Boyd. We're gonna say that, and we're gonna see if we can get that on a t-shirt. TC was reminding me of some of my catchphrases. They're not as iconic as I'm digging this figure, but I think we can get Chris's on a t-shirt soon, and we'll give Robert credit for that. And I mean, yeah, it was just really cool. And I mean, jumping on to the next really cool, exciting things. I mean, like I mentioned it, guys, we've got San Diego Comic-Con that just out. We recorded right before Spider-Man Far From Home dropped, our last recording about 3 weeks ago. I mean, we've all had the opportunity to see that film. I mean, we'll keep it spoiler free just because I don't really want to give anything away. But I mean, that was just a super cool movie. Another great addition to the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and really just excited. I mean, I won't give away any of the post-credit scenes, but I mean, what some of that stuff could even mean going forward.
Lots of possibilities. It was cool. We got, you and I get to go see it together, and I know our schedules are crazy, but it's always, again, cool to meet up and be able to do something like that. Yeah, I love Spider-Man Far From Home. We talked about it on the Assemble. That was, I think, right after that. Just great, fun movie, summer movie. TC, I know you really liked it.
Yeah. I thought it was awesome. Absolutely. Spider-Man Far From Home, it kind of represents kind of the movies that are kind of in my wheelhouse. I tend to go for the animated type stuff, the more non super serious films. So I really like the Spider-Man Far From Home film. I like seeing all the goofy kids in high school and then the goofy teachers, the corny teachers. It's just, I don't know, I just found it hilarious, throughout most of the film. And it has its serious parts, but at the same time, it's just cool to get a film that after Endgame, which was so serious and it was epic and it was the magnitude was so great, to get that lighthearted kind of film thrown at you right after. I thought it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, and final thought about that. There's a part where Peter Parker ends up in the Netherlands, and Chris and I both looked at each other and we're like, no way. So we knew Roy wasn't going to be able to see the movie for about a week or so after that, and I told him in a private message, I'm like, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but you need to send Chris and I a message immediately after you see the movie. And yes, obviously, first thing he says, he's like, Spider-Man was in my backyard. He was like 8 miles from my house.
Wow. Yeah, it was a cool little touch. New York for us is about 4 hours away. So Spider-Man got closer to Roy than he is to us.
Yeah, and obviously with San Diego Comic-Con, like I said, we'll leave all the Marvel news to the professionals like Marvel Studios News. I mean, those guys do an awesome job with Sean and Paul, and they just do so good. And I mean, I can't even try to attempt to cover anything as well as they do. So the best thing I can do is, as a fan of their stuff, is tell you as our listeners to go check them out as well. And I think in general, as time goes by here, we'll get a little bit better sense of, basically for the next 2 years, what all the Disney Plus and the cinematic films will give us. And I would just say in general, before we get into the news, guys, I felt like we'll be able to really enjoy the magnitude of Endgame for a little bit and really enjoy the onslaught of figures we're going to get before the new stuff kind of comes in. And I feel like myself, the way that I collect and the style I collect, I might be able to take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit and really enjoy what I do have in my collection, be really selective of what I add going forward, and then find out what like the next really big thing is going to be.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Like it's you can tell Marvel's kind of going away from they're kind of going away from Iron Man, they're going away from Captain America, the transition to Falcon as Captain America potentially. That's one thing, but yeah, I think you are going to get a break, especially if you're an Iron Man collector, War Machine collector. There's just not the material to consistently produce Iron Man figures repeatedly, especially based off the movie. So it'll be cool to just kind of sit back and see what's out there.
Yeah, Chris, that change your style at all?
I think it will. I mean, it's I definitely have to pull the foot off the pedal with all these pre-orders and stuff that we'll be talking about here shortly, and kind of focusing on what I already have on pre-order and some figures that are coming down the pipeline. And it's just fun to think about what figures could be coming from Phase 4. There's a lot of potential, but a lot of new faces probably in the collection potentially. So yeah, it's just one of those things that, as Hot Toys collectors, we're going to be spending that money, but It is nice to take a little break.
It's nice to wait and see. Just to see what's out there and kind of sit back and not feel like, oh, they're going to release another Iron Man figure. You got to get the next diecast figure. It'd just be cool to see the difference, the variety, and some new characters. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think just in general, just for our listeners too, just so we're all kind of transparent. I mean, that might change how we move forward. I mean, the three of us are primarily Marvel collectors at this point. And we'll definitely see. So, guys, let's get into the news. And obviously, there was a regularly scheduled assemble that Steve hosted, and he was so eager to talk about other stuff. Like even before preview night of San Diego Comic-Con, you pulled everybody together for an emergency session. You guys talked about. I didn't get to see too much of it when I was in Walt Disney World, but I know that a lot of the stuff that was already out there kind of got talked about. So I certainly, the three of us haven't had the opportunity to discuss it in detail, but I just want to go more kind of on a high level. I think one of the first main figures that we saw in between our last podcast release, air quotes podcast, was the Stan Lee Toy Fair figure in the spacesuit from his cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Definitely went weightless pretty quick. And, price wise, was at, I guess, a decent price point, but I don't think we should really be any surprised about the popularity of that one.
Yeah, he flew off the shelves, so to speak. I mean, it's Stan Lee. He's the man that created all, that had a hand in creating all this Marvel goodness, and I think it's one of the better visually, speaking cameos that he's had in the MCU. So yeah, it's a great looking figure shown at SDCC. Got a lot of videos. Matt took a video of it and got a good look. And I think some people had some concerns seeing it in person, but for me, I'm pretty happy with how it, at least the prototype looks.
Yeah, it looked good to me. I was kind of concerned about it when it first went up for pre-order to see how it would fit in with other characters. I know it's from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but it's still, he's not Iron Man, he's not Cap, he's not Spider-Man, he's still Stan Lee. So would it be an oddball? But he fit right in. I mean, I think he was sitting next to the Mark 7, and he fit right in. He looked great, and I think anyone that pre-ordered the figure, they're going to be really, really happy that they ended up keeping that pre-order, and it'll be a great figure for a long time.
Absolutely. So the next one we got, finally, Star Wars fans got another figure. We'll lump both of these together because we got the kind of a surprise release of the Sith Trooper that was going to be available. I know Matt picked up a figure. I think he was able to secure one for PJ, the Paradox Nerd. I'm really eagerly looking forward to his review for that. I mean, Matt did a live unboxing, but, Matt, I love you, guy, but, PJ is the man when it comes to unboxings and super video reviews.
Yeah, that Sith Trooper really pops. Matt had it up on his shelf next to Kylo from The Last Jedi, and it's just a good, cool-looking figure. Not really... it's an advanced release, so it's coming a lot sooner than the figures usually come out for the movies, being about 5-6 months away. So good looking figure. PJ, he'll have that 4K review. Look forward to that. It's just a cool kind of amalgamation of different troopers within that Sith Trooper style, and really want to know what a Sith Trooper is. So we'll find out.
I'm just sitting here surprised here, TC, that Chris broke out like the word of the day calendar for
amalgamation.
There you go.
Amalgamation. All right. Word of the day.
Word of the day, podcast listeners. So
yeah. And then we got that Darth Maul from Solo, which it's kind of strange timing. It's classic Hot Toys fashion. The other DX Darth Mauls are just released, and then they put up another Darth Maul for pre-order. But I love this design. I know it's like
they don't care about cannibalization. They do not care.
Nope. I really like this figure. I think the Solo look, he's got just so much else going for him with the robot legs and a couple little details here and there. He's got the older style or older look head sculpt. Man.
If I was still an active Star Wars collector, and obviously I'm not, and that's why we have Rogue One 6 with Matt and Roy, but if I had to decide between either DX 16, 17 or the 18, I mean, not that the Phantom Menace Maul isn't my Darth Maul, but I've really grown to appreciate the character in the Clone Wars, Star Wars, Rebels. Now, obviously, he was just a hologram in Solo, but like you said, Chris, I mean, like the robot legs and stuff. I mean, like when I think of Darth Maul now, that's kind of what I think about. I mean, he was so badass in the Phantom Menace, even though he didn't have many speaking parts. And for my money, I still think that lightsaber battle on Naboo is one of the best in the entire saga. I don't know. I mean, definitely. I mean, if people love Maul and they're a Maul collector, I mean, they're not going to complain about being able to add another one here.
No. So if you had to pick one, just you could not collect both. You would pick the Solo one for sure over the Phantom Menace.
Only just because I almost kind of prefer Clone Wars and Rebels to the Phantom Menace, and I'm not like a prequel hater by any means, but if I have to choose one of the things to watch, I'd rather see Maul in animated form, I think.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm picking this. I'm picking the one from Solo for sure. All
right, so we had some other just really unexpected news. I mean, we got Spider-Punk. That was to be expected. And I know both of you ended up with Spider-Punk, even though we all said we weren't going to ever end up with Spider-Punk.
I don't know how that happens.
I honestly, guys, I haven't had the opportunity to check out any of the reviews and stuff. I know Figure Collecting for Dummy, Jenkin Wong already has a video out for that. I haven't had the opportunity to watch that. what do you guys, have you gone out and peered out anything that's already out there for the day one releases?
I have. I've looked at Jenkins' review. I've looked at, I think, one other one. It's I think it was Keyboard Warriors had one, and it's a cool figure. I mean, it's just a fun figure. It's not, obviously not your traditional, classic Spider-Man, but it's just a fun take. And because Hot Toys is continually, they're going to go make more of them from the PS4 game, it definitely makes it, to me, more desirable because you can add it to a collection of other ones from the game.
Yeah, I think I watched Jenkins' unboxing video, and I just, for me, I just really like the way the materials look. I think he's got a little bit more muscular build. I mean, he just looks pretty sweet. I think I mentioned it on the latest assemble that if I could branch out into a couple more franchises, I would get Bill and Ted and put Spider-Punk right in the middle of them, just having rocking out on a little stage. But it looks great.
Chris, I thought you were going to say when you like something, I thought you were going to say you like your whiskey and pre-orders too.
Yeah, this is, I'm sure our listeners remember. This was one that I literally did not remember ordering. Yeah, I had them on my wish list, and then all of a sudden I'm scrolling through my pre-orders, and I'm like, wait a second, when did that happen? But
check the email timestamp.
That was good. That was a good decision. It's already waitlisted.
I know, isn't that? Yeah.
They could make more like they did the advanced tech, but still, there's some popularity to that figure, I think.
Yeah.
So in addition to that same day, TC, I know you and I were geeking out early this morning in our little group chat for the podcast about this, but the War Machine Mark IV already dropped in Hong Kong, and we were looking at maybe like an early 2020 release for this, or at least at the very end of 2019. I have to imagine that pretty soon here, maybe not next month, but maybe 2 months from now, we might start getting those early email notices from Sideshow. This could be a budget wrecker, but yeah, I'm not entirely
budget record.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, one good thing about having a figure like that on a payment plan is if you decide to keep the payment plan as is, you'll get the figure when you originally were, and it won't necessarily wreck your budget. It's only going to wreck your budget, Chris, is if you decide to get it early.
Yeah. It's I can't believe it. I mean, what, like 5-6 months potentially, early on this one. Kind of came out of nowhere. They were posting the classic picture of, the delivery guy dropping off all the cases at Secret Base, and it's like, wait a second, that's War Machine Mark IV. Like, what? And I know I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but I have seen some still images. But pretty sure Justin did a side-by-side comparison.
Yes, he did. And that's where TC and I were kind of geeking out this morning because, compared it to the Mark I, the Mark II, the Mark III. I think he just had I think I may have shared it on our official Instagram account, but he had a picture of all four of them together. And it just looks, to use your term, Chris, it looked amazing. I don't know. I know we've kind of talked a little bit about the figure. I know. Here I go. I am a horrible host here. We didn't even talk about our feature figure review. We're now how long into the episode already after edits that our figure review that we're going to talk about is War Machine Mark III from Captain America Civil War. Very timely, my friends, because of the Mark IV dropping, but I would just leave it as I really can't wait for the Mark IV. It looks stunning, and putting them side by side, obviously I've got the Mark III in hand. It's staring at me on my desk right now. I might give it the slight edge, but man, the Mark IV looks equally as awesome.
Yeah, it really does, and it definitely holds its own. Like if you don't have any of the other War Machines, or if you just have maybe the Mark II, and you're looking for that bulkier War Machine, this one definitely will fit that bill. and it's got that cool digital camo, rather than the flat, I guess the flat charcoal color. It's just a really, really awesome figure. Hot Toys never disappoints with their War Machine figures. They always give extra love to the War Machine, and it's showing again. And it's an awesome release. I'm really shocked that it released, was it 6 months early? Mm-hmm. Basically what it is. I think that's got to be close to some kind of record. But yeah, maybe it can be a budget record. But if you have it on payment plan, maybe keep that.
Yeah, and a diecast, no less, TC. I mean, the diecast figures have a tendency to be delayed or come out on time more than not.
They do, but like, wasn't the lead time on this pretty long? Wasn't it well over a year?
Yeah, it was.
So I figured it might come early, but not in the summer, especially with all this other stuff. But you know.
I mean, and we haven't really talked about it too, because we haven't talked about the San Diego Comic-Con releases and the Hong Kong releases coming up. Is the fact that they might have wanted to get it out because of the glut of War Machine other figures that are coming. Right. We will talk about. Makes sense. Man, I'm pumped for this one. I'm amped. Can't wait. So speaking of the Hong Kong Comic-Con animation comic game, and TC, we had to look that up before we went live. So more commonly referred as ACGHK, and that'll be this weekend coming up in a couple days. They have already, as of on Monday, we got the early preview of all the figures that are going to be out. We've heard some very strong rumors, guys, of some additional teases, and one of those kind of got the official tease from Hot Toys with the, as Steve loves to call him, Thick Thor. And I think it's a foregone conclusion that we see that figure this weekend in Hong Kong as a tease. We talked about it last episode, guys, on episode 25. I'm feeling pretty strongly that we're going to see the Mark I diecast out there this weekend as well.
Okay, interesting.
Really? Wow.
I kind of lost a little confidence on that. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I did too. I thought we were definitely going to see that at SDCC. I wasn't really taking into account, the show in Hong Kong coming up, but yeah, I mean, we've got that new. We're probably not going to talk about it because we cover mostly 6 scale stuff, but I mean, Hot Toys is getting into the 1/12 scale basically with that little mini Hall of Armor set that I'm already eyeballing because that's a lot more space effective to display 7 Iron Man figures that are a little bit taller than 4 inches than 7 Iron Man figures that happen to be 12 inches plus and Hall of Armors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really interesting. There's a lot of rumblings about Hot Toys jumping into different scales, and there's a lot to that in the Asian markets, but potentially, creating more competition for some of the bigger companies that deal with figures in those scales. So, hey, it's probably not an area that I'm going to jump into, but if it makes something, if Hot Toys can make something in a smaller scale that's, they put as much into those as they do the 6 scale, I mean, I'm all for them putting out, more product for people. It's just, I think Steve brought it up. It's like, I hope it doesn't come at the expense of, pulling back on some other things in the 6 scale arena. But, we'll see. We'll see what they have. If they drop a Mark I diecast
in 1/12 scale, that's what's going to happen.
Oh, man, I know.
No. Yeah, it's I was going to say, yeah, it's hard to tell with Hot Toys because they do pretty much everything amazingly well, except for maybe their marketing, maybe certain releases, timing wise. But in terms of quality, it's always there. You just wonder if they launch a brand new line, like you said, Chris, at a different scale, will it take away from the quality of the 1/6 if they spread themselves too thin? It's hard to say because there's no information. We don't know anything about them. They're obviously one of the most, if not the most powerful toy companies in Hong Kong, but it's just hard to say what will happen. But if one thing's a constant, it's that Howard always strives for top quality, and it's present throughout every single release. So I wouldn't discount any, I guess, I wouldn't discredit any chance of them succeeding at the 1/12 line.
All right, guys, let's talk about these figures. They're available for pre-order now on Sideshow. And actually, I don't think the quarter scale Spider-Man is on Sideshow yet, but I could be wrong. But we've got a deluxe quarter scale Spider-Man Homecoming. We've got a standard quarter scale Spider-Man. One of them comes with a Vulture base, one of them doesn't. And I've already made the determination, guys, I'm not going to jump into the quarter scale size. I don't even have the space barely for, 6 scale, let alone, quarter scale, but they do look good. And, I'm glad to see Spider-Man getting some more love. The figures we will talk about in the 6 scale, these are all figures that were shown at San Diego Comic-Con. I was a little surprised that they were available so quickly for pre-order. And as we'll talk about with our topic coming up, just kind of a recap of San Diego Comic-Con and what we loved about it. We've got Endgame Iron Patriot. We've got Endgame Rocket, Endgame Iron Man Mark 85 Battle Damage. And the figure that people thought was not going to get made is this Venom Pool from Contest of Champions. And yeah, and surprisingly, as I was updating the checklist on 6scalescavengers.com, shameless plug alert, I was surprised to see that, at least in all my time doing all the checklists, and we probably have over, I think, almost 500 figures between, maybe not 500, maybe it's more like 400 between Marvel and Star Wars stuff, that it's the first time that I've seen separate product codes for those special releases or not. Sometimes it's just for both the Venom Pool and then the Battle Damage Iron Man, they had different codes for each of them. There was the ending in a B for both of them. I don't know what that stands for, but and the prices were the same on both. It's just specific markets where you're going to get, with the Venom Pool, you're going to get an extra head sculpt, and with the Battle Damage Iron Man, you're going to get the hollow shield that Steve has kind of called his sled that he'll come with. So
I think it's just a different way for them to label these figures, the exclusive special editions, whatever they want to call them. But we'll kind of monitor that, see if it's a trend that goes forward. I don't know. It's kind of weird when they have them the exact same price, because it's like, why would you buy the other version if it's the exact same price? But
unless you hate accessories like I do.
True.
You must really hate them.
No, I got the special edition. Oh, oops! Spoiler alert. Oh, yeah. Yeah, damn! I know everybody's been waiting around on bated breath about that one, but
yeah, no, I think, like you said, it was interesting to see these figures drop, as soon as they did, following their, them being shown at SDCC. But no, it's good. I mean, the Rocket, we've kind of known about it for, I don't know, maybe 2 months now. They showed it, I think, at Secret Base, and people are like, are they going to put this thing up for pre-order or whatever?
It's a giant tease for a long time.
Oh, I know. I know. And yeah, so it's just more options for people here. I'm kind of taking a different direction for a little while here with pre-orders and that sort of thing, but a couple that are very tempting. I know a lot of people in our group were like, this one's a dopo, that one's a dopo. Nope, that's a easy pass for that one or whatever. But
and then you said, we've talked about on the last couple of samples kind of a lot of these figures, so we're not breaking any ground about that. But and really, we'll save our chat about some of these for our topic about San Diego Comic-Con, because that's where we saw these for the first time, what we've got planned for our collection update, and then also, what we are really most looking forward to. Guys, let's just kind of go rapid fire through some of the rest of this news here. TC, you got some news about the Advanced Suit Spider-Man?
Oh, yes, the Advanced Suit Spider-Man. It was on waitlist for a good few weeks, and then all of a sudden I checked Sideshow's website, and it was back up for pre-order. So if you missed out on that, now's your chance to get it before it goes back on waitlist again.
Very cool. And Chris, what are, we'd like to also try to keep tabs on, what's going waitlisted and whatnot on Sideshow for all those other figures. What else are we seeing out there?
Yeah, Iron Man Mark 46, the concept version, that one finally went waitlist. Iron Man Mark 2, Spider-Punk, let's see, the Mark 7 exclusive is also waitlisted.
Wow, so, that's surprising.
Yeah, I know. So we gotta, man, it's so tough. We keep on going back and forth, whether to jump on a figure, whether to wait. Sometimes you just, if you want the figure, pre-order it, either with Sideshow or one of the other retailers. That way you can lock it in, and you can always cancel it if you change your mind. But, and then also, a figure that's been out for a long time. Hopefully she sells out soon. Black Widow, Infinity War, on Sideshow, a figure that, got mixed reviews, but again, one I have in my collection, and one of our feature figure reviews, I think it was like our second or third episode that we did a Black Widow. But
I personally still like mine, especially after I got checked my man card and put styling wax in her hair. It still hasn't moved an inch since I did that. I still like that figure.
And I had that second one that I had bought and parted out, and I had a chance to mess around with it, and it gives me some confidence that I can get my other one styled, pretty nice for when I get it on display. But any other news there, TC?
I would just say that during San Diego Comic-Con, the Sideshow rewards were pretty sparse. I know I luckily got $2 because I happened to be on our Facebook group when Bryan posted something, and I within a minute went on Sideshow and got my $2. But if you wait more than 5 minutes, they're gone. So it's not fun at all. Why are they? I don't know why they do that. It's $2. Be a little more generous, stingy.
They were definitely stingy this year compared to last year. I think it was close to like $60 last year, and I know I got a lot of rewards dollars last year, and they're just changing up their strategy. I think I was just listening to Zach and Dean on Collecting Weekly, and Zach had some thoughts about why they might be doing that. They might have noticed last year, or things have been trending that they've had more people participating in grabbing those rewards.
Yeah.
So maybe they just felt like to spread it out a little bit more. And but I know the thing about those rewards, it really encourages me to check to see what they have on their website, and to think about, oh man, if I get $15, $20 in rewards, I'm definitely going to pre-order this figure.
Right.
I think I ended up getting $4. So that doesn't really encourage me to go out and pre-order anything.
That's the same. I think I may have gotten one more than you, TC. I think, Chris, you and I may have gotten the 4. My only speculation, postulation, whatever you want to call it, is I feel like they've been a little bit more generous with the coupon codes if you order a figure. And to me, that is probably more of a sound business strategy, because if they're aiming for those diehard collectors like us, like our listeners, usually even some of our collectors that are very cautious and budget really well, and there's really nothing against that. I mean, we welcome any kind of collector here. There's no shaming or whatnot. I mean, I certainly have no shame when I have to cancel pre-orders that I've been sitting on for a while. But if you buy one figure and you get a coupon for like $25 off or something like that, you're probably maybe more inclined to go get another figure. And it worked like a charm, on me around when Endgame was released. And I'll talk about the Midnight Massacre that happened with my budget in a little bit, but I don't know. I would almost, if I had my say in the matter, and obviously Sideshow doesn't really give a damn what I say or think, I'd almost prefer what they've been doing as the coupon codes, because to me, and TC, I think you said it best, it's not fun to sit in a group. And I know, Chris, you're mentioning Zach from Collecting Weekly, and every time somebody got booted from John Martino's Tashi Station group, I was sending him a screenshot because I'm still waiting for Zach to do his little video recapping what happened. And there's some things that I just find hilarious in this world. And for some reason, the little video compilations that he puts together of people getting kicked out of the Sideshow group on Tashi literally has me bent over laughing. So Zach, my challenge to you, my friend, if you listen to this, is, put that together for us, buddy. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, no, just in closing, I would rather have no stress. But one of the reasons why I love collecting Hot Toys is the fact that you've got so long, and you don't have to worry about going to retail stores. You don't have to go to Walgreens, and you don't have to go to Walmart, and you don't have to go to GameStop. You don't have to chase all these exclusives, and you don't have to get up at 3 in the morning to log on a Target and hopefully you get one of the chases if you're collecting Funko or Hasbro, or these Hasbro exclusives from San Diego Comic-Con that are going to be coming up. I mean, it's so not stressful to collect this stuff that I would rather get the benefit of, if I'm going to give you my business and you want to decide to give a coupon, instead of giving it to people that may not even spend it, give it to the people that are spending the money at your site. And then as a thank you to continued business. And that, as a business strategy, to me is more sound. And if they're willing to give away money, why not give it away to the people that are actually your best customers?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think that's it.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a good point occasionally here and there.
Yeah. This is your one for this show.
You're generous. I was going to go one for the year.
And
don't
I
sell
guess
yourself short.
The last piece of news, moving on, the last piece of news is that Thor Endgame was teased on the Hot Toys Facebook page. So I think a lot of people are thinking that's going to be at ACGHK. And I would not doubt that. I think that's going to be one of the figures they saved for the Hong Kong market. Give them, I guess, an exclusive reveal of the figure firsthand. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, let's move over to our collection update. And Chris, I'll shoot it over to you first. What do you got new in the last 3 weeks plus or so?
I did pre-order the Stanley from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the exclusive. I ended up having a fair amount of rewards and one of those coupons, and I used it towards that pre-order and getting them for a really good deal. Going off brand here a little bit after watching Far From Home. This might be a little spoilery, but I ended up going for the Toys Era Skrull, which is Talos, the head sculpt and hand set. And I know Chris Marino from our group and from Dork Lair, he was getting it, and it was my first order from gianttoy.com. So it's a pre-order, and they had probably the best price around as well. So I'm excited to get that one. I kind of want to, I've got a figure that I've had for a while that it's going to work perfectly with if I want to change up a scene. I'm also jumping into this Toys Era thing. Not necessarily because of the movie, but it's because of the character. I pre-ordered the Nightcrawler Deluxe or Nightmare. I really love Nightcrawler, I remember reading the Excalibur comics as a kid, and I think that design is a pretty good representation of that character. So I'm looking forward to getting that one. And then I parted out my Hot Toys Thor from Dark World. It's one of those things where I broke part of his leg messing around with it, and then I had sold the base because my good co-host here, I felt like I needed to get into the parting out game. But it's crazy. Like I've already sold a few pieces from him, and I've already recouped the amount that I had into him, and I've got plenty of pieces left. So I'm gonna make a pretty good profit on that figure. And then Matt's probably gonna, he's gonna be sad about this one, but the few 6 scale Star Wars figures that I have, my Sideshow Rebel Commandos, I'm actually gonna part these out. I'm gonna keep a few pieces, and then maybe down the line I can make some better custom commandos, because the figures themselves, the head sculpts are pretty weak, and I think I might be able to come up with something better. Consult our friend Zach from Collecting Weekly, and maybe do something a little bit better. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. There's a few other figures that were very tempting, but the time was not right to pre-order. TC, what do you got?
Yeah, a little bit of stuff going on the last few weeks. I pre-ordered Spider-Punk, and I guess a week later that went to waitlist, so that was timely. And I pre-ordered the Tony Stark Quantum suit, so I got that one. I think that one releases next year. And then not quite to the level of Chris with his Spider-Punk, pre-order, but Stanley went to waitlist pretty early, and I kind of dropped the ball on that. I did not pre-order it immediately, but I guess one night, pretty late, maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning, I must have added it to the waitlist, got my name on the waitlist, and then randomly one day right before the San Diego Comic-Con event, I got an email from Sideshow, and they said, "Congratulations, your Stanley figure has been converted to a pre-order. You have 2 days to decide whether or not you want to pre-order it." So I thought, okay, well, I guess maybe I did really want it, so I'm going to pre-order it, and we'll just see where it goes from there. And I'm glad I did, because I saw the Stanley figure at SDCC, and it really did look really good with a bunch of, I guess, figures that, that weren't even part of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. They were just, classic Marvel characters, so he fits in really well, and so I'm actually glad that happened. Whether or not it was impulse buy or not,
it was meant
could be questioned. It was meant to happen. So, and then I ordered from one of my, I had a previous collection sale of another collection of mine. I ordered with some of the proceeds, I ordered the Captain America movie promo figure from Infinity War. So that I have actually the standard one, and now I have the movie promo version. So I've got one with the Wakanda shields, and then I've got the other one with the Corvus Glaive, I guess, staff/sword accessory. So that is cool. A really cool addition.
I'm so proud of you.
Dude, it's nice. I love that Captain America figure. I like the dark star. I like the dirtied up suit. It's just really cool. So had to do that. And then let's see, I had to make room for some incoming figures. Sadly, I sold one of my Death Troopers, and I sold my Spider-Man homemade suit. I have 2 of those, so I got rid of one. I originally was going to try and part out the head sculpts of the homemade suit, but I wasn't getting what I wanted for that. And I looked at the market, and the price for that figure just shot up like 80% in like the last month. It was selling for like 300, $250 used pretty recently. And now, everything's selling for $400, $500. So I decided to part ways with that and put the money towards the Far From Home movie promo, and then part of the advanced suit from the PS4 game. And then finally, I got in my replacement leg for the Markel figure from Sideshow. In the last episode, I said my Mark 50 had a scratch, pretty deep scratch on one of his calves, and I requested a replacement calf, and Sideshow sent it, and it arrived in mint condition. So thank you, Sideshow, for that. And that wraps it up.
And I shared something out of the group recently because I think there's even a couple of our listeners that are also on the lookout for that homemade suit, especially because, I guess, spoiler alert, it does momentarily show up in Far From Home. I was looking out on, right. I occasionally look out at this website, toyhideout.com, and sometimes they'll have in-stock figures, and sometimes they're priced to market, sometimes they're not. And if you scoop it up, you might get a good deal. I noticed they had a brand new one available, and then I looked at the price, and it's probably one of the worst price gougings that I've ever seen. Just shy of 1 cent of $4 bills. I mean, not $4 bills, but I mean, it was basic 999.
4 figures.
99, yeah, 4 figures. Thank you, TC. It's late on the East Coast here. Yeah, long day at work too. Yeah, I can't even imagine paying that for an Iron Man figure. Why would I pay it for that? But thankfully, nobody has gone for that yet, which is, I guess, good. Maybe they'll bring it down a little bit, but I don't know
where they got that pricing from.
It's supply and demand. I haven't even seen any sell on eBay for that amount.
No,
so you're right. I mean, maybe they're just trying to prey on the hype from the movie and whatnot.
It's so weird though, because they do have, like, I bought figures from them before, and they do sell to market. Sometimes they lag, like sometimes they don't keep up, and they underprice figures. I've gotten good deals from them before on other figures like Yondu, where figures have been under market, and then I've been, fortunate enough to, turn a profit on them. But it's just interesting. I guess maybe they really like the Spider-Man figure, don't want to get rid of it. I don't know.
Crazy stuff there.
Oh, wow.
But all right, so like I said, there was a midnight massacre, and so going back to the conversation I had with Robert when I was in Walt Disney World, and we were kind of talking a little bit about budget, and of course, talking a little bit about kind of his strategy. And I love just talking to our listeners and what they really enjoy. I mean, if anything, anybody can hear us talk all the live long day when we're on the podcast. I really like to, when I like to just listen to people, especially other collectors and stuff like that. So we got on the topic of budget, and the whole trip, I'm like bombarding you guys. I'm like, do I add the Gandalf figure from Asmus? And if I get that, do I go for the Gimli? And is there all this other stuff? And like, it was funny because like when I get back to the hotel at night, I'm already wiped, and I'm just looking at the Asmus stuff, and I'm like, some of it's good, some of it's not. I know, talking to Steve, he's going to have Secrets of the Six-Scale Scavenger coming up really soon on what maybe collectors that are now jumping in, getting the Gandalf figure, what they can kind of expect. I had a pre-order for Gandalf out there on Big Bad Toy Store, and I ended up just getting rid of it. There was thankfully no deposit on that. I finally came to the conclusion, especially I think because, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it on one of the assembles, is Matt had the opportunity to talk to somebody at the Asmus booth and was, talking about the figure and stuff like that. Although it was cool to get some of the behind the scenes information about it, I just didn't have a high degree of confidence that Crown Series line is going to be something that will get every figure release. And some of the Hobbits and stuff like that are just not good. And I have completist tendencies. You guys know that. Our listeners know that. I'm like, all right, I'll be okay with just letting that go. I love The Lord of the Rings. I actually started watching some of the movies on my plane ride down to Disney, kind of inspired by my friend here, TC. And I think I got to the point where I started a little bit of The Two Towers. I was just not watching it at night when I was down there.
They're intense. You have to really devote time to watch them. So
I completely forgot how long some of the extended versions are. It's like 3.5, 4 hours.
It's 12 hours total, I think, for all three of them. It's crazy.
But it's definitely goodness. So anyways, just, talking about, budget, and got more thinking about it. And then San Diego Comic-Con came around and getting a look at what some of the figures are. Then I went around, I got home, and I was starting to look at rearranging some shelves. I'm like, I just have some of these figures that just don't fit. I have a few like mismatch shelves, and it made me really take a look at what I've got for pre-orders coming up, and wondering, and kind of almost hypothetically saying like, okay, where are they going to fit? What shelf? And I have some things now kind of sorted by movie. I actually split up some of my Iron Man and Captain America shelves. So I'm kind of liking how it is now. I think once I can actually get my office cleaned up, I'll probably do like another collection room tour and just kind of show everybody where I'm at. But long story short, I looked at some of my pre-orders and I ended up axing a few of them. And actually, I at one point had the Stanley figure on the first day there. I was like, I had a bunch of rewards. I had a coupon. I'm like, I'll add it. You know, if I don't want to keep it, I can either resell it or pass it along to somebody in the group. I ended up having that, canceled that pre-order. And so hopefully somebody got a nice little surprise. Oh, maybe that's no. I only did that a couple nights ago.
Yeah,
so.
no, yeah.
Could have been, but anyway. So that was there. Suri now has the achievement unlocked for being a figure that I've ordered and canceled twice now, and very distinct honor there. Sorry, Suri, I love you. I love the character, but I'm just like I'm not sure where that's gonna fit. I was really excited at the time to add Nebula, but even Nebula, I'm like, I like the character. I love the actress, and I'm just not sure where she's going to fit. She had to go. And then finally, because all these Spider-Man figures are coming out and this onslaught, TC, you mentioned all the video game figures, and I looked at the Scarlet Spider, and although I love the figure, I just didn't want to have a mismatch that didn't even fit in the MCU. So somebody else got a nice little surprise that their wait list probably converted on that one too.
We need some odds here on the odds that Shuri makes her way into the Fontaine household in the next year.
It's probably, unless I can get like a half off deal on one of like the buy sell trade groups, it's just probably not going to happen. But anyways,
I'll have to bring her over.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to do. Anyways, and then when I see it in person, that's when I'll have the regrets.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about it last episode before we took our 3-week break that I got the War Machine 1 figure in, and that had a pretty cool base on it. I listed that on 1/6 Republic Buy Sell Trade and got it pretty much what I was looking for on that. I like to just display my figures without the stand. I like to balance them. You know, I parted that out. And then for pre-orders, I went ahead and of those figures that we just talked about, Iron Patriot, Iron Man Mark 85, the Battle Damage 1, and Rocket. So I got rid of 5 pre-orders, added 3 back, but I really kind of like where I'm at focus-wise going forward. They're all figures that I have been collecting multiples of. Really no concern that I'm going to cancel any of those.
Very awesome. Nice. Yeah.
So good stuff there. Actually, because I was thinking I wasn't really going to have anything to talk about, but you know, when we go 3 weeks without all getting together as a podcast group, we were inevitably going to have some stuff. So let's flip the script a little bit, and we're already running long. We're already going to probably run much longer than I thought we were going to run totonight. So that's all right. I'll figure a way to make this all work in the editing booth.
I'll buy a shirt.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I'll buy a shirt and fix the hosting fees that we're going to incur because Steve got a little trigger happy with all the long assembles on the podcast feed this month. But anyways, good content. Always love getting our group together and chatting. So guys, I know we teased it at the beginning with San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, that is what the big thing is at this point, especially for us as collectors. And I mean, obviously, we've already kind of covered a lot of the figures ad nauseum with the different shows that we've already had. But I would just kind of, TC, I'll start with you and then go to Chris. Just your consolidated overall thoughts about what we saw. Were you excited about it? Were you let down, disappointed? I mean, in our group, we keep things mostly positive, but I think there was also kind of not necessarily an overwhelming response, but there was some small segments of individuals that really were just kind of left wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, it was overwhelming. There was so much stuff. You could tell Hot Toys really wanted to make a splash, and they did that. But after seeing everything and taking a couple days to just assess the landscape, I'm satisfied with what was shown, and I'm confident that I can narrow down my true wants based off what I saw at the show. There's a lot of great stuff. A lot of new figures were shown for the first time. And I think Hot Toys gave pretty much, the majority of collectors what they wanted to see. They held some stuff back. We'll see what happens this week, but it was quite the spectacle. How about you, Chris? What do you think?
it definitely was a spectacle. I was thoroughly entertained and just taking in all of the content. You know, not just six scale. There's just a lot to take in. But with the six scale figures, I mean, there's so much variety. I don't know. I just there. I'm not. I wasn't left wanting more. There's a lot to look at still. Yeah, I liked seeing all the figures that hadn't been teased before. I don't know. It's
just so much. It's hard to
so
take
much,
in.
So
Yeah,
much to
I
take
mean,
in.
for somebody that was on vacation when all this stuff was dropping, it was kind of fun, but on the other hand too, I just kind of let it happen. I obviously was excited, but I certainly wasn't disappointed at all. I think overall my thoughts about it is there's something for everybody, and we stress constantly, and it was good conversations I had with both Lotus and Robert when I was talking to them in person too, just about, we try to keep it real. I mean, the everyday collector just can't go out and buy everything. Not only do we not have the space to display everything, but nobody has that kind of disposable income to be able to do that. So where it can be overwhelming to see all the different options that are available, I think each and every one of us can really decide what we really like and then really try to focus in on that, because and I'll give a shameless plug alert to, I was able to step into Steve's shoes a little bit into the Secrets of the Six Scale Scavenger video series that he started on YouTube. But I did a little bit of an intro video to budgeting using Excel, and whatever amount you can set aside each month that you're comfortable with, if you can get yourself one figure a year, a figure every 2 years, maybe you can have as many pre-orders as Chris does here or whatnot. You have to be
just a couple.
Yeah, just a few. You have to be kind of comfortable with that. And I think you have the opportunity to really get what you want. And some of these releases are pretty far out. So it does allow you to kind of do some of that planning to figure out, can I swing this? Can I start this payment plan in this month? What is my budget really going to look like? Do I have a few months in a row where I'm not going to have anything planned and I can really just kind of let my budget kind of accumulate and then put it towards that, so I know that when that time comes that I'm sitting comfortably? Or you might get a time, like I've got a month coming up, I think next month in maybe April or May, where I'm kind of slightly exceeding what I'm setting aside. And instead of going to the red, I may decide at that point to sell a figure, sell some accessories, just to kind of get back to that, even spot. But those are all things that we each do as collectors, that you have the different opportunities to go ahead and do that.
And I guess to play off that, I know I had said in our little message between the three of us, our little chat, that I wasn't going to pre-order anything from the weekend, but I ended up locking down the Battle Damage Iron Man pre-order. Well, you can choose not to pre-order, or maybe you can choose to pre-order, a couple figures you really like, and then you lock down the pre-order in a payment plan 1 year, 2 years in advance. And you can do like a long-term budgeting process that way. So you can see far into the future what's going to happen. And then it's easier to organize as more pre-orders go up in the coming weeks and months, what your game plan is.
Yeah. TC, didn't you figure out what your daily saving would need to be on one of the figures or something?
Oh, like the Battle Damage Mark 85, like 60 to 65 cents a day. I'm actually contemplating doing that, where every 10 days I'll go to the ATM and just pull out a $10 bill and then just stack it on one of my bookshelves for like a year or whatever, however long it ends up being, before I get to the 440. So I might do that.
I mean, it's smart. Time. I mean, for some of us, that's like less than a morning coffee or something.
Yeah, it's a lunch. It's a lunch at work. So
yeah, that's one piece of advice that was given to me about a year and a half prior to Star Wars Celebration, was to put like anywhere from $6 to $10 away, like each day. And it was a lot harder than than I thought. And it's one of those things where, looking back, it's something that was really smart because I just didn't have enough money. I could have spent way more money. But putting that into the context of this, when you have a figure that has such a huge lead time, you don't have to wait till those payment plans kick in to put away money, like TC is saying. You know, you can essentially have it paid off before the figure even comes out. So Bryan's got a great video. I really think I should probably use it, but definitely check that out on our YouTube channel. And it is a good starting point to get your budget locked in. And then you can just progress out and, you know, kind of see how things go. And it's just, you know, with these high-end collectibles, you gotta plan out for this stuff.
All right, guys, let's give, you know, thanks for that, Chris. I appreciate that. I'll slip you I'll slip you the 20 later.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So overall, we haven't had the opportunity. I think you guys know my list, but I don't know either of your list. We thought it would be fun just as a kind of, we're going to tie a bow on San Diego Comic-Con coverage from the Six Hill Scavengers podcast and YouTube content, was like what we saw was like our personal top 5 of the figures shown. It might not be necessarily figures that either we're going to get or not get. I know my list completely biased to the figures that I'm gonna want to collect. I think I ended up with I know the Sideshow website did something cool. I know they've always had their coming soon page, and they have a picture of the figure and you can RSVP. I will say 3 of the characters on my list I had the RSVPs for, and I thought the RSV program they have for them was usually timely, but it was about 3 or 4 hours later after it was actually available on the site that I got the email saying it was available. I mean, if I was like on an island somewhere and not really paying attention, yeah, then it's helpful. But I mean, we're scavengers after all. I mean, we're living and breathing this stuff on a daily basis. We're all competing to see who can be the first to share the Hot Toys official Facebook post here. I mean, get real here.
I know. Exactly. Same thing. I got those RSVPs and I'm like, thanks. I already knew about it, you know, and I love it how it's to the point on our group where we've got multiple people posting, you know, the releases. And, you know, unfortunately, to tidy things up, we kind of, you know, delete some of the later posts when it's a duplicate. But it's just so fun to see everybody jumping on that stuff. But yeah, Bryan, we'll start with you. What are the top 5 figures you're looking for?
Reverse order.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure like they're in any particular order, but I think 3 of them right off the bat are the 3 pre-orders. I absolutely lost it when I saw the Iron Patriot. I'm going to call it Iron Patriot 2.0. I don't know if it's technically going to be considered like a War Machine Mark V armor. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say like the product code they have for that is eventually what it's going to be on release, but that thing is a flippin' beast. And I definitely was excited. I was super excited to finally see the Rocket figure. I know, like you mentioned, Chris, that's been long teased at Secret Base. That was one that I was definitely glad to see, but it's not necessarily in my top 5. So in no particular order, Iron Patriot. TC, agree with you on the Battle Damage Iron Man Mark 85. That was a showstopper. Love seeing the long-rumored Captain America Avengers 1 outfit. Obviously makes an appearance in Endgame. I'd still love to see them also redo the stealth suit that he makes the appearance on Thanos' farm there. I mean, I'm still holding out hope that we eventually get that. That figure looks better than the original did. There's still some concerns a little bit about the body type they used for it, but I think they have time to get that right. The love seeing, and I gotta give credit where credit's due. I've already given him credit on the Facebook group, but Nick the Nerd had been saying for the longest time we were going to get the Star Force version of Captain Marvel shown at one of these summer conventions, and boom, there it is at San Diego Comic-Con. So I'll give credit where credit's due. I know, Chris, that's something that you and I were also speculating on, but I think Nick was well and ahead of us on that aspect. And my last figure, the last figure on there is finally seeing Hulk smash. Hopefully we get a taco accessory or two with that one, but I thought that figure looked good. I will completely admit, guys, that version of Hulk is not for everybody. I personally, it's my favorite version of Hulk that they've done in all the films, and I just love the character. I thought he stole the show every scene it was in, and yeah, definitely glad to see that we're probably, definitely, maybe, kind of, sort of going to get that figure. And I already have a quarter scale extra case ready to go, like I have for my Thanos, so that he will fit.
How convenient.
Yeah, how convenient. I had that already on pre-order. So, but yeah, I don't know. TC, I know I went to you first earlier. Chris, what are you thinking for your top 5?
It's very similar to yours. There's only one figure different, but in no particular order. The Hulk, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Iron Patriot, no-brainer. I mean, or I like to call him Optimus Patriot. He kind of looks like Optimus Prime to me, but I love that figure. And Captain Marvel, again, with her Star Force Veers, and Captain America, the Avengers version. So I had those 4 the same as you. My last one, it's a character that I think she's great. She's in one of my favorite movies. Well, it's Mantis. I just think that Hot Toys putting out a Mantis figure kind of blows the other 2 6-scale options out of the water. So I'm really hoping that they make that figure. I think it looks great. It's got a little bit of room to improve on. So yeah, my top 5, I do have to sneak in an honorable mention, and that would be a little Ewok named Wicket. And I think that figure looks amazing, and I'm digging it. And I don't think I'll jump in if they release that figure, but it would be very tempting. I love anything Endor, so hopefully they do come out with it. Yeah, that's my list.
All right, TC, let's kick it over to you. Why don't you go ahead and put a ribbon on this top 5 discussion from San Diego Comic-Con?
Okay, absolutely. So my list is going to be a little different than you guys, your lists, but I love a lot of the figures you included, but just a couple other ones caught my eye, and an honorable mention going outside of Hot Toys would be those Transformers figures by 3A. All those that they showed were really, really, really great. Just comparing them to the movie, they're just spot on. But my number 5 is actually going to be Bespin Luke. I'm going to go outside of Marvel. Bespin Luke, to me, has always been the Luke figure that just represents like what an action figure should be. Like the materials of the suit are just the cloth-based material, the suede or whatever they use for the boots. It just represents, I guess, the pinnacle of all Lukes to me. So I included that as my number 5 to go outside of Marvel. My number 4 is going to be the Negative Zone Spider-Man suit from the PS4 game, the white and the black suit. It's modeled after the advanced suit from the PS4 game, just a color variant. And I don't really know much or anything about what it did in the game or what the history of that suit is, but it just caught my eye as something really, really cool. And number 3, I'm going to go the Quantum Suit Cat. I love that figure. I really like the Quantum suits. I think the physique of the figure, it's nearly perfect. It's just a cool suit. I like the white, the black, and everything. And I like the parts that the Quantum suits played in Endgame. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is going to be the War Machine Quantum suit, not the Iron Patriot. I like the Iron Patriot. I just like the idea of potentially gathering the team together in the Quantum suits. I like the variation of the traditional charcoal black War Machine to something a little bit different, and that definitely qualifies. And then my number 1 is going to be the Iron Man Battle Damage Mark 85. Obviously, that goes without saying for me. I love Iron Man. I love his part in the movie and his part in the entire saga. So I have to get that one in addition to the the clean version, but as far as suits that made their first appearance at Comic-Con, that one stands above the rest to me.
I am already getting to the point, TC, where I've got both of the clean suit and the battle damage one on pre-order, and I'm contemplating. I have all my other Iron Man figures displayed with the helmet on, and I've sold some of the head sculpts. I still have some left. I think with that battle damage one,
it's got to be off.
You got to have it off. You got to recreate that scene, and
it's the one Iron Man suit that's got to be off, in my opinion.
Yeah. Just put a capstone on the fine character that is Iron Man. All right, guys, great chat. I know, like as we said, we won't shortchange this review. We won't shortchange this review too much. We want to get to our audio feature figure review of episode 26, guys. It is going to be that War Machine Mark III from Captain America Civil War, MMS 344, diecast 15, originally retailed for $344.99. Best I could find, guys, based on my very Sherlock Holmes type research, was that this was originally up for pre-order around December 17th, 2015, which would have been in advance of the film coming out. And then as far as I could tell, it looks like March 23rd, 2017 was when we started to see the day one video reviews on YouTube, and kind of piece that together on some of the Sideshow Freaks forum posts that were out there. This one does actually look like it was originally delayed. And this is kind of after I really had started collecting. So guys, I'm really excited to talk about this one. Chris, unfortunately, you're going to have to sit this one out, buddy. TC, both you and I have this. Yeah, TC, both you and I have this in hand. I know I shared my story a little bit about getting this figure, as I thought was a pretty good deal in basically new condition. I know your path to getting the figure was a little bit more hair-raising than that, but yeah, it finally did come through.
Yeah, it did. And I do love this figure. I did own this in the past. And then before I, sold a bunch of figures off. But I really wanted to get it back, and I was able to acquire it pretty recently. And I don't have any regrets about it at all. I have seen all the War Machines of what's out. I haven't seen the Mark IV, obviously, in person. But of the three prior, this is my favorite one, because it has that bulk that you want, but at the same time, it's streamlined. It's simple. The design's really simple, and it has so much detail. I can, go top to bottom of the figure. It's just covered in detail from Hot Toys, and they did a really awesome job.
I think it might already be in like the top 5 figures of my own collection.
I think it might be top 5 figures in Hot Toys history. It's that good. I mean, if you go back to 2015, because you said this came up in 2015, the pre-order, there are so many things on this figure that Hot Toys introduced for almost the first time. The shoulders, the shoulder pads, they hinge out from the shoulders. You can move them up and down the arm so that you can get greater mobility. They have the butterfly joint on the shoulders. It was one of the first Iron Man figures to introduce that. If it wasn't the first, it might have been the War Machine Mark I, and maybe one of the Iron Men before it. But it was pretty groundbreaking. And then just all the paint work on it. There's not a flaw on it. Any flaw is painted on by Hot Toys. It has all these little Ultron drone faces on the top of its chest area that show, I guess, the drones that he killed in Age of Ultron. I think that's what it's from.
Yep.
I mean, and if you look really closely, they're not just little dots. Like they kind of look like scrolls, but they're pictures of the drone faces on there. The elbows, they hinge greater than 90 degrees. The knees are double jointed, have the double jointed, and then they hinge as well on ratchets. The what else is there? The legs are pretty much all die cast. It's just a really well built figure, and it's amazing that something that came up for pre-order 4 years ago, to this day, you could argue it's the best offering that they've had of War Machine, and one of the best offerings of any of the Iron Man type suits. So it's pretty good testament to the Hot Toys quality that's often referenced by many collectors. And it's just one heck of a figure. I don't have any regrets, and I don't really ever want to get rid of it.
Never again. So yeah, I mean, I can't really say it any better than you just did. TC, I think just speaking to some of the other accessories, obviously it has the shoulder cannon that you can attach, the baton that he has. I haven't, and just as a disclaimer for any of our new listeners, one of the things that really none of us do is putting batteries in figures. I know Steve's got a great video series. He started with a do-it-yourself, basically fake battery replacement system. So I'm really excited to see what he could do for that. I'm not sure I'm going to have the courage to go ahead and do that, or the technical know-how to be that crafty. But I mean, with the other, the hands and stuff, I think if I have one gripe, guys, it's the fact that the Rhodey head sculpt is the same that they used for Iron Patriot, the same they used for the Mark II, both versions of the Mark II. So yeah. I think they did do the update. If I remember correctly, I think they may have updated it for the Infinity War figure that we'll have coming out. I could be wrong about that, but I mean, I'm not going to display it with the visor up on this figure. I mean, obviously War Machine is a focused collection of mine now. I've tracked down as many as I feel like I need to have in my collection. This one, like you said, TC, stands head and shoulders above a lot of the other figures in my collection.
Yeah, it really does. And, they use the same Rhodey head sculpt, but granted, that was, almost 4 years ago when they previewed it. So, I mean, at the time, it wasn't reused as often as it is now with the Mark IV. And then obviously the Mark III used it, but it doesn't have some things like the new Mark 50, Mark Hell. If you can look really high, you can move the helmet almost vertical on the hinge on the neck joint. You can't do that with this one. They didn't think of that. That little hinge within the neck, they didn't develop that yet. There's some things, the new Mark IV, if you go to the ankles, you can move the ankle flaps up to give some greater articulation. But as far as capturing the figure from the movie and the proportions and then the paint and just the overall look, they did like a near flawless job. It's really quite an awesome figure.
Chris, you got any questions for us?
No, just one statement. From an outsider looking in on this figure, I just have to say it simply looks badass. I mean, it just looks just like a killer figure that I'm so happy that you guys each were able to get one. And it's definitely one of those figures that, in a perfect world, I would love to have this guy. But no, I'm really interested to see Bryan, with all your War Machines lined up and stuff like that. I'd love to see, that in person. No, it's just War Machine is just a cool looking character. I don't really have anything else to add to it.
Yeah, I think TC's onto something when I think there's a lot of extra love and attention that's given to War Machine from either Howard Chan or anybody else with the Hot Toys team, that they take a lot of pride in the figures just as much as they do with the Iron Man figures. Yeah, I will.
They're
say
so durable too.
They are durable. You mentioned TC. This figure is not only one of the heaviest ones. I think somebody did a comparison a couple years ago on which figure weighed more, whether it was the Mark I or the Mark III. I think the Mark I may be the heavier one. This one has definitely got some bulk to it. It's not going to tip over. This one, actually, I do believe that the ankle rockers actually can fold in a little bit. So you got more of, if you have them wide stance like I do, basically feet underneath shoulders, you can make sure that the feet are flat to the floor. Not all the figures are able to do that. Even non-die cast figures, it's really hard to do that. Before we get into our review of our score of both, I would just say that I have not looked at the market prices as much and as closely as I did when I was looking for this. I've seen some in some of the buy-sell trade groups that the price is coming down. So if anybody has been on the lookout for it, just keep an eye on it, because anytime there's a new version of a figure that hits the market, for those collectors that don't prefer to have multiple versions of a character like some of us do, you know, myself included, I would say that sometimes people are willing to sell an older version to get the new one in their collection, whether for budgeting reasons, for space reasons. If you are on the lookout for this figure, and I think based on the score that I have a guess that I think TC, you and our scores are going to be identical on this one. Just, you know, create maybe an eBay save search out there and just kind of keep tabs and just see if you might luck out. And what would seem to be right now a screaming deal, you might see that market price start to fall. And this one got really absurd at one point, but I think you might see that the scarcity that's been there for this figure start to increase a little bit with the supply and demand, and people maybe just preferring the new Mark IV over this Mark III.
Yeah, and because the 3 and the 4, they had the 4 is based partly off the 3. It seems it kind of looks like the 3. It has roots with the 3. If people are going to part with the Mark 1 or the Mark III, I think they're going to part with the Mark III first. The Mark 1's always going to be the classic, the first one that was made in diecast form for War Machine. So I feel that one, the market value on that one's a little bit more stable than the Civil War version. But in terms of aesthetics, if you can only pick the Mark 1 or the Mark III, maybe you can get that deal on the Mark III, and then it makes it that much better.
Yeah. All right, Chris, because you don't have it in hand, what do you think we should rate this figure on?
I was thinking like missile casings or something like that, or shoulder cannons.
I'm thinking Ultron bot kills.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. All right,
let's go Ultron. I'm going to overrule you, Chris. We're going to go with Ultron bot kills. All right, TC, I will let you go first, my friend.
Yeah, I am going to obviously rate this one very high. I'm not going to knock it for the small, tiny things in terms of like elbow articulation or neck articulation that Hot Toys has made advancements over the years, or ankle articulation, which is actually pretty good, like you said. I'm going to give it a straight 5. It's a 5 out of 5. This figure is amazing. It's a rare one to give a 5 out of 5, but I don't really see, if they were to ever remake it, how they would really make substantial improvements on it. It's pretty much perfection.
Yeah, I think this is, Chris, you might be able, you're more of the historian than I am about all the podcast episodes we've ever done. And we're both getting old. And the fact that we've been doing this for over a year, I don't think I've ever given a perfect score to a figure. I know before, we used to do 4 out of 4. Maybe, I feel like maybe I have, but I know definitely ever since we've gone to the 5-point rating scale, thanks to our friend TC here, I know I definitely have never given out a 5 out of 5. So I'm going to agree with my co-host here as well. And
history
made. So
yeah, we definitely know 5 out of 5s, and to get a sweep between the two of you is pretty impressive. So I can definitely see why, this TC, you saying this figure could be one of the top ones that Hot Toys has ever done. It's again, great figure and very timely with the Mark IV coming out.
Just final thought about it. I got to give a quick shout out to Roy for the photography, the cover art for this episode, both on the podcast and YouTube. I believe he also has his figure and took a photo some time ago, because obviously he has most of his figures boxed up most of the time. But I have to give credit to Roy to making this figure look even more badass with our cover art here.
Yeah, he killed it with that photo, man. It pops, especially on Instagram and everything. I just, he's a wizard with that camera. So thankfully he's part of the team to make us look good. So
thank you, Roy.
Yes, thank you, Roy. All right, guys, let's go on to plug time. I know we're running long this particular episode, but I don't think any of our listeners are really going to complain about that all that much. So let's talk about our plugs. We mentioned the website a couple different times. We've got our checklist there for Marvel, Star Wars. Working with Steve to see if we can also get an Asmus Lord of the Rings list going there too. So that's on my to-do list. I don't know. That definitely won't be out by the time this episode drops, and maybe I can get it out within the next few weeks, maybe. We've got our YouTube channel. We've got our contest right now, our giveaway figure for a 3A DLX Bumblebee figure. I know Matt just did a live unboxing in our group, and oh man, I love that figure. So I'm super happy we're going to be able to give that away to one of our YouTube subscribers. And you can find that video out on our channel on how to enter and how to get additional entries. We've got our TeePublic store, as TC mentioned it earlier in the episode. If you buy a t-shirt, we get a small portion of those sales that we use towards covering our podcast hosting fees each month. And you can look cool wearing our swag. I walked around Walt Disney World multiple different days with our Scavengers gear on. We've got our Facebook page. We're on Instagram, as Chris mentioned. We've got our private group, 6 Scavenger Collectors. Make sure you answer all the questions and agree to the rules. We've mentioned that all the time, but it's a way to know that you're a listener or viewer of our content. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and 6scavengers.libsyn.com. Grab that RSS feed and throw it into your podcast catcher of choice. Guys, great show. Always love chatting, collecting with both of you. Episode 26 in the books. We're going to be getting back to a more regular schedule coming up soon, but you know, vacations need to be had sometimes, and there's always more time at a future date to talk about collecting.
Yeah, man, it was great. And hopefully maybe next time we'll get the featured figure revealed at the beginning of the episode. But it was awesome. I enjoyed it. Great
goals.
Yes,
we have to improve somewhere.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement. And again, just, you know, looking forward to more content coming out with the cons, and check out the next assemble and enter that giveaway. We want to give this Bumblebee a good home. So check it out.
All right, guys. Chris, bring it home for us, my friend.
Excelsior.